Welcome, paranormal investigators, to the AVGhost Agency, where only the most terrifying of paranormal incidents are reported and investigated. You, as the newest recruit, are going to need to investigate the house, find out what happened, and try to remove these spirits before they remove you. But my first investigation is a first look on this, AVGhost, a board game designed to make you feel fear that you play entirely in the dark. Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and our very first investigation of the day is into this. This is AVGhost, a paranormal investigation game that gives me sort of Mansions of Madness meets Paranormal Activity kind of vibes. The game is a 1-to-4 player app-enabled game that sees you getting to the bottom of as many mysteries as you can whilst also fending off spectral spirits. And today we're going to take a first look, give you an idea of what this game's about and the bits that you need to know. Now as anything seems like a good time for our usual disclaimer, which is that because this is ahead of a crowdfunding effort, you need to understand that this game will change by the time it gets to you. So components are not finalised. What you see here may be a little bit different. There may be different inserts or there may be some minor changes. In this case, this game has actually been to Kickstarter previously under a different publisher. So it was originally published by the people on here, which is Mystical Games. It has now been licensed by Juegorama, who are relaunching crowdfunding with it. Now, that also means there's a couple of changes that they're implementing, things like a couple of rulebook changes, but it's worth taking a look and seeing those in detail if you're familiar with the original campaign. But for today, we'll assume you know nothing about it. We'll give you some more info and you'll see if this is your bag. Let's take a look at the box to begin with. So we have this beautiful and quite terrifying scene on the front, which we then move around to see different monsters and different characters, give you an idea of what's going on and some information at the top there. While we get inside, let's have a look at the flavour text. So the AVGhost Agency is known for investigating the most extraordinary cases. The clients come to them asking for help. Some have seen ghosts, others hear dreadful wailing late at night. There are even those who claim to have communicated with the hereafter. Prepare your paranormal investigation tools and get ready to dive into the most obscure cases of the AVGhost Agency in the 70s. On this box in particular, there are characters around the outside, and we've also got our characters on the front here. Now this is a box within a box, so the components that you may need more regularly are slightly separate, but we have all of our characters and such in here, with all of our sort of landscape creations within here, including some very important documents. So let's talk about what you're doing. We are investigating what has happened in a series of paranormal incidents and trying to get rid of those ghosts, let's be honest. We need to solve the mystery to get rid of those ghosts before they get rid of us. Now to do that and to give us the story, we have any number of envelopes here. Now they are labelled all the way up to 1415 here, but we have different things included in each of them, and they are going to give you all of the information you need about the case that you are investigating. So of course, we're going to start at number 1. Now, although this gives you some beautiful physical components to investigate and some interesting clues and things to pick up, you're going to guide your game through the app. So there is an AVGhost app that you put your information into, which case you're investigating, what you're intending to do, and it will give you some responses as a result. The app looks something like this. It is lovely and easy. I downloaded it in about 10 seconds, and this will just ask you what case it is that you're playing. So we'll play case 1. We'll be told to read the information. All the information you need is in the task, and we will then hit accept to say we're there, and then who is doing what. So we'll select our character, we'll select what it is that they want to do and where in the rooms they're putting it. More on that in a second. Let's loop back to the investigation, because this is the bread and butter of what you're trying to find out. Inside here you will have a couple of very exciting documents, and they change as you go through. So we have the initial contact email and all the information that the AVGhost Agency knows about this particular haunting. Now this is riddled with clues, and to begin with they're a little bit more obvious. They're a little bit more nudging you in the right direction to give you an idea of what's going on, but it'll get more difficult as you continue. On the back, for example, you can see here we've already highlighted some bits in here that are particularly important. So things that we want to notice about, we are talking about hearing voices in the bedroom, for example. That's gold dust, because now we know where to investigate, we know what we're trying to find. It goes on and gives you as much flavour as you need to fill out a story and understand why it is that you're investigating. We don't stop there. We have the information we need in terms of what layout we're looking at and where things are, as well as we've got a picture of the home that we're investigating. Is that relevant? Who knows? We'll find out. And lastly, and interestingly, a clue. Why do we have an advert for soap? Let's find out. Now, if you're familiar with Mansions of Madness, you'll be familiar with what comes next. Next, you find some map tiles, you place them down, and you place your characters in the right places. So the maps in these cases look like this. They are double-sided. They have all little different bits and bobs in terms of where you can find stuff. So there's numbers, there's different things to pick up, there's different clues that you can find, but you've got to be cautious of all sorts of things, from the time that you're doing stuff, what you're using your turn for, etc, etc. And we have our walls marking in between here. So in my books I've got some physical walls, but we'll play it flat for this one just so that you can see everything. Now normally for a full investigation we would be placing more tiles than just this, but I just want to give you a flavour in our first look, because what happens next is you grab one of your characters. Now these characters are on tiny little standees, you can see here, and this is, of course, as we switch it on, a light. Why is that important? Because, as I said at the beginning, and is such a cool feature of this game, you play it entirely in the dark. So once you have read your investigation, once you know what it is that you're going to be investigating in the first place, your app's loaded, everything is placed where it should be, lights go out. Lights go out. You now can only see what your character can see from their own torchlight. And what you're then seeking to do is find out what happened. So we'll use the hint that was in here, is that we heard voices in the bedroom. So what we would want to do is have our character go to the bedroom. We would want to place down a voice recorder so we can find out what it is that we're hearing, and then we want to wait to see what happens. Now the app will fill that in for us. So if we find nothing, there will just be static, but if not, there could be a voice. Now, what we want to do is just select our character and place them in the room with the item that we want them to use. So I've done that very quickly. We'll hit start. So with spooky music in the background, we have a recording device placed in the bedroom. Will we find anything there? Nothing. Nothing unusual. Just static. So I investigated wrongly, so what else can I possibly find in here? Now that's not all, of course, because not only can you only see certain things, which mean you can only investigate certain things, but also you need to be careful that a ghost doesn't appear. You won't know, even if you play multiple times, what it is that's coming out of these encounters, but these little guys, there are all sorts of these. We have different ones. Little miniatures that are going to show what it is that's attacking you, and it's up to you to then get rid of them. Now, the way to do it is, again, we're involving that torchlight, because interestingly, we have filters that you can place on them. Now, there are two uses to those filters. You can either pop them in to disperse a ghost if you get the correct colour filter, or you can use them to find different messages, different things hidden amongst the rooms. But you need to use them sparingly and make sure you pick up more of them. All the while, of course, you need to take care of your character, because you need to make sure you've got enough light, you need to make sure you've got your health, and remember who you are and what you're trying to find out. If amongst the team you can find enough evidence as to what has happened here and can solve the case, you can move on to the next one. Now, a couple of other things that make this game that little bit extra cool is not only do you sort of lay out and have different experiences depending on what you investigate and what happens next, but there's also different things that can happen. So you need to be aware of things like you could get possessed by these evil creatures. Perhaps even the clues will move, or perhaps you will only be able to do something once you have specific clues. It's not as easy as you might think. Lastly, the game is prioritised as a co-op game, so you may need to remember what your teammates are doing to see if you can help them too. Now, something that I loved hearing about on the walkthrough of this game is that it is very atmospheric. The point of the game is to feel it, is you are sat in the dark trying to find these things with spooky music happening in the background, with all of your characters out investigating, doing different things. There's a real chance of feeling genuine fear. There's something terrifying that's happening, and what can you do to stop it? What spooky noises in the background? What's happening in the dark? What can't you see because your investigator can't see either? The whole concept is incredibly interesting, and it makes for quite a unique experience. Now, equally, you won't need to worry about things to do, because although I've only shown you one map tile, the actual original case requires at least 3 of them to be laid out before you can do anything at all. Those maps are then double-sided, so you have some rooms on the back and other rooms on the other, and there are plenty of them. This is just the maps that we've got here, before adding in any potential expansions or different modes that may come along with them as well. As you play with different players, or as different events occur, you will have a different experience every time, so even if you've got an idea of what's happening, you should be able to replay it again and see how successful you are at finding those clues and solving that ever-important paranormal mystery. Now, if you like spooky games, or even storytelling or investigation games, this is a really good shout to take a look at. It is, of course, launching on GameFound relatively shortly. I will pop the links that you need in the description below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, do pop them in the comments, and see you next time. If you make it out, of course.